When Jesus is asked to distill all of the laws into one or two laws, he does what many of those scholars in those days were actually doing also. They would reflect on all the 600 and some laws that were part of the Jewish practices, and the question was, how can we remember all of these? Can we have one or two that just kind of says it all? So Jesus takes a quote from Deuteronomy and Leviticus, combines them together, and gives us what we have today. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, and mind, etc., and love your neighbor as yourself. Now, even though these other contemporary scholars to him had been doing similar things, Jesus does something else. He adds a little sentence in there. He says, the second is like it. And what he means by that is that the two are intimately tied together. To live out the commandments means that we have to tie those two commandments together almost as one. They depend on each other. I pull three words out of these two commandments that help us to know how to put them into practice. Prayer, worship, and charity. Prayer, our own personal prayer, worship, as we come together as a community, charity, our works. Now, living out of these commandments certainly is not easy to be perfect at. None of us are perfect at it. Even the saints themselves prove to us that this is the kind of thing that is a lifelong journey for us to love like Jesus loved, to worship God completely, and to pray as if our life depended on it. Even the saints would frequent the sacrament of reconciliation because they felt themselves inadequate towards fulfilling these kinds of demands of the gospel. The reason why? Original sin. We've been weakened. Our wills are not strong enough to always direct our actions. And our minds are corrupted enough by all sorts of other influences, not to mention our own ability to really know the truth. And so we're kind of like losing the battle even before we start. So living out these commandments, as I mentioned, is not easy. It's not easy always to be prayerful, consistently worshipful, and always charitable. Charity towards all people at all times. Mother Teresa gave us kind of an insight into this business about trying to live out the readings, this idea about loving our neighbor and still continuing to be faithful to our prayer. So she says this. Naturally, it didn't come out the way it was supposed to. I think love is a choice. For my own self in my own life, it was a choice to love. And I'm getting it here. It's coming. There it is. Oh my goodness. I don't know actually. Here's what she says. People are unreasonable, illogical, and self-centered. Love them anyway. If you do good, people will accuse you of selfish, ulterior motives. Do good anyway. If you are successful, you win false friends and true enemies. Succeed anyway. The good you do will be forgotten tomorrow. Do good anyway. Honesty and frankness make you vulnerable. Be honest and frank anyway. When you spent years building, what you spent years building may be destroyed overnight. Build anyway. People really need help, but may attack you if you help them. Help people anyway. Give the world the best you have, and you'll get kicked in the teeth. Give the world the best you've got anyway. It's a choice, isn't it? This was a poster, a kind of a picture that Mother Teresa had posted on the wall of a children's home that she founded in Calcutta, reminding her charges, reminding the sisters that work there, for them to keep up their efforts, no matter what. So when I talk about love as a choice, a personal story to tell you about that. In one of my assignments, when I had associate pastors with me, Archbishop Curtis calls me up one day and says, "I'd like to send you so-and-so this coming June." And I said to him, I said, "Why are you sending me him? I have enough troubles here without having to have to deal with him. He's got a history of nothing but problems." And I said it a little more strongly than that, actually, to him. And he said, "No, calm down, calm down." He says, "I've talked to him, I've talked to him." In the back of my mind, I thought to myself, yeah, talk is cheap. Anyway, I knew that if I complained too much, I wouldn't get an assistant, so I thought, okay, I'll shut up. And so I took this to prayer, frustrated by it, not knowing what to do, knowing that I had a challenge on my hands. And what the insight that I got in prayer was, choose to love him. Choose to love him. And so I consciously made that choice in prayer that I was going to love him. And that made all the difference in the world for me. Everything about that relationship I had with him, the time that we were together, worked out very well. I appreciated him, I appreciated his gifts. You know, I saw the weaknesses, there were the issues that we had to deal with, but they didn't stop the relationship, nor did they stop the good work that needed to be done by both of us. Love is a choice. Charity, to love the Lord your God with all your heart, to love your neighbor as yourself, is not something that you just kind of naturally do all the time. You have to decide to do it. There's a story about Christopher Reeves. I think he was the actor that played Superman. And he was one of the most athletic, good-looking, rich, famous actors in Hollywood until he fell off of a horse. He was paralyzed and he's a quadriplegic today. His wife, Dana, said this to him shortly after the injury. She says, "I'm only going to say this once. I will support whatever you want to do because this is your life and your decision. But I want you to know that I'll be with you for the long haul no matter what. You're still you, and I love you." This is the kind of love that Jesus is talking about. It's the hard kind of love, where we make the choice to do what is the right thing. So many times I hear those tragic stories where spouses go through a very serious injury like that, and the other one abandons them. And I just don't get that at all in my head, how that happens. But in this case, we have a woman, a wife, that chose to love in that situation. So prayer and love go together. The strength of love comes from prayer, and prayer is seasoned by our actions of love. Now here's another way of looking at it. When you have a difficult time in prayer, when your prayer doesn't seem to be working for you, when you seem to be just using words, then go out and do something of charity. Do something where you go out of your way to help somebody else. To cheerfully volunteer when someone calls and asks you to do something. On the other side of it, when you find it difficult to love someone, then bring that to prayer. And ask the Lord to anoint you with the gift of the Holy Spirit. Because after all, He loves all of us. He loves all of us. Just ask Him to share some of that with you when you have a difficult time loving somebody else. I think every one of my assignments in one way or another has helped me to go deeper and deeper in this mystery of truly tying together actions of charity with my prayer life. Now to change pace just a little bit, this coming Tuesday when you wake up in the morning, think of me landing in Jerusalem after 25 hours of travel. I'll be in such a cheerful mood. It'll be wonderful. That's the only thing about international travel that's crazy, just the length of it and the time that it takes. But isn't it amazing how many days and months it would have taken for this trip to happen 100 years ago? Two things will be happening while I'm in Israel that's really neat. The first one is while I'm in Bethlehem, or actually while I'm in Jerusalem, I take a taxi over to Bethlehem, and we're going to go out to dinner with Imad's parents who live in Bethlehem. and get to know the family a little bit more and learn about what it's like for them to be living in occupied territory and all the issues that they deal with, the security arrangements that go on between them and the Israelis. And just to see that Christian community, a little piece of it there in the community that lives right there. The second thing that I'm going to be doing is when I go to Jordan, in Amman, Jordan, I'll be visiting with the principal of a high school in Amman, Jordan, along with a priest who is head of the Catholic schools for the Latin Patriarch. The Latin Patriarch is the Archbishop of Jerusalem in our book when we use the idea. Archbishop of Jerusalem covers all of Israel, all of Jordan, and Cyprus. That's his diocese. So this priest is in charge of the schools. I don't know if it's the schools just in Jordan or all of them, but anyway, we're going to visit with him too. I'm familiar with the school because I visited there already and I have kind of a little bit of a sense of it. But my goal with this visit is to try to set up a sister relationship, making Cedar Catholic and the school in Amman, Jordan, Al-Mizdar School, sister schools, and having contact between the two schools, the kids getting to know one another, and emails and texting and all that kind of stuff that happens with technology today that makes such a thing really easy to do. So I'm looking forward to being able to do those two things and come back with news of that for you. So say a prayer for our group that we are safe on it. Usually safe in my book means that we stay healthy. We don't get food poisoning. We've done that. I don't want to go there. I'm taking so many drugs with me this time, the dogs are going to sniff me.